most prominent series on television last year was part melodrama, part comedy, part travelogue, all history, with a large cast at the beginning of the year and a much smaller one by the time it went off the air in early November. It was the presidential campaign and election. Television cameras and candidates as wedded to each other as husband and wife. It's the kind of relationship everyone feels free to comment on, often critically. But indisputably, more than it ever has before, this was a presidential campaign played out on television. A mental flashback of Campaign 80 instantly brings to mind television images.
Somebody said I should stand on an issue. How about that?
I think to close out this discussion, it would be better to put into perspective what we're talking about. I had a discussion with my daughter Amy the other day before I came here to ask her what the most important issue was. She said she thought nuclear weaponry.
It was in the 1966 election when I ran for governor that California came up with the 11th commandment. And we, in just those 2 years later, from that great bitterness, healed the wounds in our party. And I've been a missionary preaching unity to the Republican Party.
Presidential nominating conventions are places for the faces of America. And even in the most orderly years, there is unexpected drama. One night in Detroit, the Republican Convention Hall became a new television suspense show. Would Gerald Ford join Ronald Reagan on the Republican ticket? He did not. George Bush was chosen. Still, it was one of the most extraordinary political stories of the year as it was played out live on all three networks.
With a deep awareness of the responsibility conferred by your trust, I accept your nomination for the presidency of the United States.
At Madison Square Garden, the votes belonged to Jimmy Carter, who, as promised, whipped Senator Kennedy. But one night, the hall belonged not to the winner, but to the loser.
Well, things worked out a little different from the way I thought, but let me tell you, I still love New York.
The fall campaign. Polls and politicians agreed it was a tough one to figure because many voters were reluctant to favor any of the candidates. And then, in the final week, a chance to directly compare the candidates of the major parties. Live from Cleveland, President Jimmy Carter and his challenger, Ronald Reagan.
Governor Reagan, as a matter of fact, began his political career campaigning around this nation against Medicare.
There you go again.